Alright, so it's been about a year since I got my Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. Thought I'd do a video here and talk about how my experience has been over the last year, all the pros and cons, and how it's been holding up. I've dropped it actually several times, and we'll talk about that as well. Also, talk a little bit about the upcoming S26 Ultra. I believe it's been announced. I think it's coming out sometime in March. I'm recording this video around the middle of February of 2026, and I think it's coming out somewhere towards the second or third week of March, is what my understanding is. I don't really know if anything's been updated or not. You guys probably have more information about that than I do. Let me know down in the comments what you know. Yeah, we'll talk about that as well, and as whether or not I'm planning on upgrading. But let's talk about this phone, and this has been my main daily driver for the past year. This is the phone I use the most. I have a lot of phones, and this is the phone I use absolutely the most. And I thought I would start off this video by talking about the reasons why I decided to get this one. I was previously using the S22 Ultra as my main daily driver before I switched over. And I was considering getting the S24 Ultra maybe 6 months before I actually ended up pulling the trigger on the S25 Ultra. And the cameras were the main reason why I decided to wait and get the S25 Ultra instead of the S24 Ultra. As some of you guys may or may not know, I actually use my phone's camera quite a bit for a lot of filming for a lot of my reviews, and I use this quite a bit. So the camera was really important as to whether or not I would have upgraded it or not. And I thought I would put a little bit of a chart up here to sort of show you the number comparisons on basically the three main cameras that I use in the back here. The main camera, the ultra wide, and the 5x telephoto. I don't really use the 3x telephoto. Kind of wondering why they have kept this around, because it's they haven't really upgraded the specs in a long time, and it's kind of useless. They should probably just get rid of it and lower the cost. But I had Gemini make a little chart here comparing the S22 Ultra, the S24 Ultra, and the S25 Ultra. And the main thing that bothered me about the S22 Ultra cameras when I was using it is that the fact that the ultra wide and the telephoto didn't have very high resolution. You see, it's 12 megapixel and 10 megapixel for both the 3x and the 5x. And in the case of the S22 Ultra, it did have a 10x camera, but it was only 10 megapixels. So when you're filming 4K video, you could actually tell that the resolution wasn't that great on the S22 Ultra. So when I was considering upgrading, I was like, okay, the S22 Ultra had a 200 megapixel camera for the main sensor. That was great. Ultra was still only 12 megapixels, and the 5x camera went to 50 megapixels. Okay, that's great. But the the ultra wide was still stuck at 12 megapixels, and that was something that kind of prevented me from upgrading. I was like, well, I do use the ultra wide quite a bit, especially when I do travel videos, and I wanted something a little bit better. And around the time that I was considering getting this, I was hearing noise about the S25 Ultra, and I heard that the S25 Ultra was going to get that bump on the ultra wide to 50 megapixels. So you basically have a 200 megapixel main, 50 megapixel ultra wide, and a 50 megapixel telephoto. And then these are the three that I mainly used. I almost never used the 3x telephoto. So I did the 10 megapixel, which is, you can see it's still stuck on 10 megapixels after all these years. And since these were the three that I mainly used, I would get closer. Well, the image quality between the three cameras would be more on par. They'd be closer together. Obviously, the main lens is the one I use the most, and that has the ability to go to 200 megapixels, which gives you a really nice ultra high resolution image. And yeah, so I have used these three cameras on the S25 Ultra a lot over the last year. By far, this is the phone I use the most, and the most filming I've done in the 10 years I've been on YouTube. And I actually really like the image quality out of this camera. Just showing you some sample footage here. I did like a road trip last year, and there's just a bunch of sample footage that I took with this, just to give you an idea of the kind of 4K video you can get. I mainly shoot video with this phone. I do take photos as well. It does take really good photos. But the main purpose of this phone and the reason why I got it was for the video quality. Now, how does it compare with a lot of other flagship phone models out there? I would say it's on par with iPhone video. So the video is now up to the level of an iPhone in terms of video. It's finally, in my opinion, I think it's finally caught up. In terms of photos, it's about the same as iPhone as well. Now, there's a lot of other flagships out there from a lot of Chinese companies and some, there's a wide variety of other companies out there. There's a lot of reviews out there that do like all these side-by-side comparisons. In my opinion, I've looked at all those and, things, phones like Xiaomi, for example, or Honor, yeah, they have nice photos, but the video quality is still not quite there yet, in my opinion. They have a lot of features and a lot of gimmicky stuff, etc. But in my opinion, the video is just not quite there yet. And if you are considering looking for the best quality video that you can get out of a smartphone, really the only two phones that I think you should consider are either the S20, S25, Ultra series, or maybe the next one, the S26. Basically the Ultra series cameras, or something from an iPhone. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think of the video quality that I've shown here. Just a few random samples from a recent road trip. Just let me know in the comments what you guys think. So in terms of the actual specs of my specific device, I did get the 512 gigabyte version. I think that's enough. Like I said, I did a 2-week road trip, and I took a ton of 4K video. And I almost filled it up. Like my phone right now doesn't have any, it has a little bit of video on here right now, but not a ton. So I'm only using about 100 gigabytes. And I've got the 12 gigabyte memory version. I'm not a super power user. I don't use like 16 apps all at the same time where it's all launched into memory. I tend to use basically one app at a time. And that's served me fine. So I think from a spec perspective, this phone is probably overkill. If they had for example, the 5x telephoto in the smaller edition, like this is the S22, if they had this in the S25, with the 5x telephoto instead of the 3x telephoto, I probably would have gotten the smaller phone with the same camera specs, because I'm mainly looking for the camera specs. I'm basically getting the larger phone with overkill specs that I don't really need. I mean, I'm paying for all these extra specs mainly because I want the cameras. So they're playing that game where they're not really upgrading the cameras on the lower end. So this is this is still the flagship side, but this is basically the entry level S20 series. So this is the S22. If you look at the camera specs on the basically from the S22 all the way to the S25, they're exactly the same, which is why I only have the S22 here. Yes, the battery is a little bit better as you move up from the S22 to the S25, but the cameras are still the same. So like I said, if they had the S25 with the same cameras as the S25 Ultra, I would have just gotten the S25. Now, in terms of the S26 Ultra, my understanding is that there's not going to be much of a spec bump in the S26 Ultra. I believe they're going to have the same cameras, so no increase in any of the specs. The same 200 megapixel, 50 and 50. I believe that they're going to introduce the MagSafe feature, the magnetic back, into the phone itself. That's the rumor I'm hearing, so you don't have to get this MagSafe case. But in terms of the rest of the specs, I think that they're going to have a slight bump in the Snapdragon. So instead of the 8 Elite for Galaxy, maybe like the 8 Gen 5 or something like that. Not 100% sure. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors out there. It hasn't been announced formally yet. So in my opinion, at this point, based on what I've learned about the upcoming S26 Ultra, I'm definitely not considering upgrading unless there's something really different in terms of the upgrade that I have to actually get that I wasn't expecting. So, for those of you that are considering upgrading from the S25 to S26, personally, for myself, I'm not going to do that because I don't really see anything compelling. And I heard that the price is not even going to go down. It's going to basically they're sort of rewrapping the S25 Ultra. Maybe they're going to change the body a little bit. Maybe have some different colors. So largely cosmetic, for the most part, and maybe a slight bump in the Snapdragon processor. But as I told you earlier, this phone is overkill for my needs. I don't really take advantage of the specs of this phone. I mainly got this for the cameras. All right, so just to talk a little bit about how it's held up, and I've used the phone. It's been kind of dropped quite a bit, and you see I have some scratches here on the screen. Now I did put the screen protector on here, so this is not. These are scratches on the screen protector, not on the actual screen. So let's see if I can get the reflections to show. I'm not really sure what caused these scratches here. So you can see a bunch of these. This is actually the Samsung OEM screen protector, quite expensive. It was like $20. And it's very thin. So it's made from a plastic PET material, and it has a slightly like non-reflective surface, so it doesn't glare as much. So obviously I have these lights here that you can see that are very reflective, but basically in terms of general daily use out in the real world, it has a little bit less reflection. So you can see like there's a little something on the ceiling there, so that's the air vent. If I bring my S22 here, you can see that more clearly. See that right there? That's the same air vent. It's a little bit less, it's a kind of dulled out, less reflective surface, and that's why I got the screen protector. But it's not. The screen protector itself does scratch quite a bit, so you can see a lot of scratches there, especially on this side. I'm not really sure where those came from. I'm going to obviously replace this screen protector pretty soon. It's been on here for a year. It was on there from day one, and you can see the little notch there for the front camera. But the screen itself has held up through several drops. No scratches on the screen itself, because obviously the screen protector is scratched, but not the screen underneath, and no cracks or anything like that. This case has been on here as well for about a year, and it's held up okay. But you can see on the corners here where I've dropped it. I think I dropped it in this corner. It's cracked here, but it's still holding on. And I obviously love the MagSafe feature. I do use those accessories a lot in terms of mounting my phone for different mounts. And where else did I see? I thought I saw another one over here on this side. It's cracked over here where the stylus comes out, right there. But the phone itself has been in the case, and as far as I know, there's no damage. So I'm just going to pop it out of here. I actually haven't popped this out of here in at least a year, maybe close to a year, but not quite a year. But it's been here pretty much since day one. Let's pop this out. All right, so got the phone out now, and yeah, it's basically brand new. No scratches anywhere. See, these corners where I dropped it look okay. I don't see any damage. Yeah, it looks totally fine. Just has some dust here. All the sides look good. The bottom looks good. It's like these areas are kind of exposed, and where the pen goes in, it's a little bit scratched right there. This side looks okay too, and so does the top. And all the lenses are fine as well. So yeah, it's a very durable phone. I mean, I've dropped it on the floor quite a few times, not deliberately, of course, and I didn't throw it on the ground or anything like that, but it's held up pretty well. So overall, I've been very happy with the phone. I'm going to keep it as long as possible, and unless they have like a wild upgrade incentive, like sometimes that's the reason why I upgrade to this, is that I got more in trade-in value on the S22. I traded that in for this phone. I got more trade-in value than I actually paid for the S22, which is why I did that upgrade, which was kind of crazy. So if they provide, they sometimes have those crazy pre-order upgrade deals. And if they have like a crazy deal where I can basically trade this in for more than what you could buy it for, I might consider it, but otherwise probably not. Because this phone now with now that it's been out for a year, you can probably buy the 256 gigabyte version for under $1,000, like $900 used or renewed at a lot of places. So I'll put my link to Back Market down in the description. I think you can get $25 credit if you use my discount code. But yeah, this phone, I think, if you're considering getting this or the upcoming S26, is now discounted because of the upcoming release of the new phone. So once that's announced and you kind of know what those specs are for the new phone, if it turns out that it's not much of an upgrade, obviously that's going to come out at full price. I think $1,500 retail. You can get the S25 Ultra for almost basically the same specs it's going to be quite a bit less. So I think by the time everything's announced and people know what the specs are and the phone's been released for the S26 Ultra, the S25 Ultra will be heavily discounted. You could probably pick up, a really good condition one or even a new one for $900, maybe $800, so which is a pretty good deal, especially considering how much this was when it first came out. Was I think around $1,700 is what this retailed for when it first came out. So it's kind of crazy what the prices are like when they first come out versus a year later. So definitely worth considering if you're, looking into upgrading, but don't want to necessarily get the newest phone. You can get a, year-old phone for quite a bit less. So it's definitely worth considering if you're in that particular situation. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video on my S25 Ultra 1-year review. Questions, comments, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.